Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Amelia Rosalinda. You can call me Linda. Here I want to explain the materials, meaning focus input, learning through listening and reading. It's called meaning focus because in all the work done in this train, the learner's main focus and interest should be on understanding and gaining knowledge or enjoyment or both from what they listen to and read. Typical activities in this train include extensive reading, shared reading, listening to stories, watching TV or films, and being a listener in conversations. This train only exists if certain conditions are present. Firstly, most of what the learners are listening to or reading is already familiar to them. Secondly, the learners are interested in the input and want to understand it. Third, only a small proportion of the language features are unknown to the learners. In terms of vocabulary, 95% till 98% of the running words should be within the learner's previous knowledge, and so only 5 or preferably only 1 or 2 words per 100 should be unknown to them. Next, the learners can gain some knowledge of the unknown language items through context clues and background knowledge. Lastly, there are large quantity of input. Okay, the next materials about meaning focused output, learning through speaking and writing. Typical activities in this train include talking in conversations, giving a speech or lecture, writing a letter, writing a note to someone, keeping a diary, telling a story, and telling someone who to do something. The same kinds of conditions apply to meaning focused output as apply to meaning focused input. First, the learners write and talk about things that are largely familiar to them. Second, the learner's main goal is to convey their message to someone else. Third, only a small proportion of the language they need to ask is not familiar to them. Fourth, the learners can use communication strategies, dictionaries, or previous input to make up for gaps in their productive knowledge. Lastly, there are plenty of opportunities to products. Swain 1995 suggests 3 functions for output. Firstly, the noticing or triggering function. Secondly, the hypothesis testing function. And third, the metalinguistic function. Next material is about language-focused learning. As many names focus on form-focused instruction, deliberate study, and deliberate teaching. Learning as opposite to acquisition, international learning, and so on. Typical activities in this train are pronunciation practice using substitution tables and drills, learning vocabulary from word card, intensive reading, translation, memorizing dialects, and getting feedback about writing. There are conditions for main focus input and output. There are conditions for language focused learning. Firstly, the learners give deliberate attention to a language feature. Secondly, the learners should process the language feature in deep and thoughtful ways. Third, there should be opportunities to give spaced, repeated attention to the same feature. Fourth, the feature which are focused on should be simple and not dependent on developmental knowledge that the learners don't have. Lastly, features which are studied in the language-focused learning strands should also occur often on the other three strands of the course. Next, materials about becoming fluent in listening, speaking, reading, and writing. In this strand, the learners are helped to make the best use of what they already know. The fluency strand only exists if certain conditions are present. Firstly, all of what the learners are listening to, reading, speaking, or writing is largely familiar to them. That is, there are no unfamiliar language feature or largely unfamiliar content or discourse feature. Secondly, the learner's focus is on receiving or conveying meaning. Third, there is some pressure or encouragement to perform at a faster than usual speed. Lastly, there is a large amount of input or output. Next, materials balancing the four strengths. At least 2005 includes the following principles in his list of principles of structured language learning. Firstly, instruction needs to ensure that learners focus predominantly on meaning, and instruction needs to ensure that learners also focus on form. Next, materials about integrating the four strengths. Many ways of giving time to the four strengths and will depend on many factors like the skills and preference of the teachers, the expectations of learners at the school, the timetabling constraints, current beliefs about language teaching and learning. Next, material principles and the four strengths. Each principle is followed by a brief list of suggestions about how the principle could be put into practice. Firstly, provide an organized large amount of comprehensive input through both listening and reading. This could involve providing an extensive reading program, reading to the learners, getting learners to give talk for their classmates to listen to, arranging spoken communication activities and interaction via the internet. Secondly, boost learning through comprehensive input by adding a deliberate element, not words on the board as they occur in listening, to consequences raising activities before communicative tasks. Get learners to reflect on new items they meet while reading. Explain problems, items that come up in the context of communication activities. Next, support and push learners to produce spoken and writing output in a variety of appropriate read genres. Use communication activities in a range of situations. Use role plays, match writing and speaking tasks to learner needs. 4. Provide opportunities for cooperation interaction to group work involving opinion gap and information gap tasks. Get learners to work together on writing and reading. 5. Help learners deliberately learn language items and patterns, including sounds, spelling, vocabulary, multi-word units, grammar, and discourse. Do the teacher-led intensive reading give feedback on writing, deliberately teach language item, arrange individual study of language item. 6. Train learners in strategies that will contribute to language learning. Work on guessing form, context, dictionary use, word part analysis, and learning using word card. Okay, next materials about learning goals. This is a less material. These goals can include the learning of, firstly, language items such as sounds, vocabulary, and grammatical constructions. Secondly, the content or ideas of the subject being studied, such as geography, English literature, math, or cross-cultural understanding. Third, language skills such as listening, writing, fluency in using known items and strategies for coping with language difficulties. Lastly, the organization of discourse such as rhetorical feature and communication strategies. Weber's findings are important for design courses because we can draw the following implication for them. Firstly, in order to meet the full range of language feature, learners need to be exposed to a range of discourse types. Secondly, being able to operate well in one kind of discourse. For example, informal conversation doesn't mean that a learner has the knowledge to operate well in another kind of discourse. For example, formal speech, because each discourse type make use of a different cluster of language feature. Lastly, having to operate in an unfamiliar discourse area is a demanding task for learners, may make them aware of gaps in their command of the language. We have looked at the broad feature that should make up a well-balanced language course. In the following lectures, we will look in detail at what should make up well-balanced listening and speaking course. The following lectures are based on the idea of the four strengths and look at what can make up each strength. Okay, I think that's enough from me. Thank you.